advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? She says, your body doesn't matter, your hair doesn't matter, your clothes don't matter. What matters is how you treat people, how big you love. That is what transcends through you and allows others to open up and truly be who they are. Let's give it up.
Thank you so much. Who else puts on gangster rap when they need to get something done? Yeah, you. Okay, all right. So, thank you for being here this morning. I don't know about some of you, but I'm just now waking up usually around this time. So it's an early morning for me, and the weeks leading up to Confidence Con, it's definitely a busy time. But when Hannah asked me to speak, and when she also told me the topic for the month, of course I kind of giggled and thought, yeah, let's just add that. Let's do that. So chaos, it's a really funny word of how we view it now and how we all see it. Most of us see it as a negative thing, right? Chaos sounds crazy, sounds scary, sounds big and terrifying. But chaos is actually a Greek word for chasm or void. A void at the dawn of the universe, actually. Chaos was, most Greek cosmologies tell us, the very first of all, the origin of everything, the empty, unfathomable space at the beginning of time. But it was more than just a gaping void, as its name is usually translated from ancient Greek. Personified as female, chaos was the primal feature of the universe, a shadowy realm of mass and energy from which much of what was powerful was born. She was the origin of everything and the very first thing that ever existed. Chaos was the primordial void which everything was created, including the universe and the Greek gods. It was said that a cosmic egg formed in her belly and it hatched, producing the first deities into the darkness. The far-reaching idea is that she is the space that separates and divides the earth and the sky. It wasn't until the Roman poet Ovid, a white man, often described it as a shapeless heap and a rude, undeveloped mass, that chaos became much more of a concept than a deity. It was then that it started being associated with notions such as confusion and disorder, out of which what we now know and understand as chaos. And speaking of chaos, my name is Hannah. I do a lot of things, some, or maybe most of which are born out of some sort of chaos. The pivotal moment when I started my own business was actually out of sheer chaos. I wasn't enjoying college, and I knew that I could create something on my own if I just had the nerve to do it. So I'm well aware of my privilege and the opportunity I had to attend school, and I think it's amazing for people who go to school and enjoy it and thrive there. But I wasn't thriving, and I knew there was more for me at the time in my little sphere of chaos. So, you see, being a class president type of gal from a small town where I graduated with around 67 kids, most of whom I had gone to school with my entire life, that whole college thing was just not very fun. Small fish, big pond. A pond that required showing up to class, completing homework, taking tests, all the things, you know the deal. But it wasn't until I actually attended my first Plaza District Festival in 2013 that I found my people, and I realized I was way more connected to the creative community here than I had realized. So I found the freaks and geeks the ones with paint on their jeans, the ones breaking their backs to build community, and the ones who were less fortunate and who were in the district before anyone was there. Shout out to Cuz and Dominga. So that was the kind of small town culture, everyone knows your name energy I was longing for, but with way more culture, way more life, momentum, and way less judgment. While I was trying to figure out the whole chaotic school thing, I was actually hired at DNA Galleries by a woman standing right back here. Her name is Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa. I was hired as their social media manager and a retail associate, and for nearly almost 2 years, I started to get really good at what I was doing. After finding my tribe, my partner, and my chosen family in Oklahoma City, I knew it was time to strike out on my own and just do the damn thing. So I started Egg in a Glass, now known as HR Co., and I've been managing accounts, creating content, strategizing campaigns, and much, much more for a good while now. And as if making the leap to not have a job, not have any new clients, and not have your parents backing you anymore wasn't a big enough jump for me at the time, I decided I wanted to talk to women in our city about confidence. Because it was because of those women that I met while working at DNA and in the Plaza District and in this giant living organism that is Oklahoma City that I realized there were women in our community putting in the hours and really just putting this city on their backs. And I wanted to talk to those women. As I was starting my own business, I wanted to get them all in one room and ask them questions. I wanted to know their fears. I wanted to know their trials and tribulations. And I wanted to hold the space for them to be able to talk about those things without stigma, without judgment, without any of us. So, while I'm a one-woman show, oh wait, by the way, we've had 3 conferences so far. So this tiny dream that I had turned into actually a moment that happened at the Paramount Room, our first ever confidence con right across the street. And since then, we've impacted over 400 women at our conference, and no telling how many thousands of women online. And we're getting ready to have our 4th Con next weekend, actually right down the street at 21C. Yeah, very excited. So while I'm a one-woman show with killer friends who are basically volunteers all the time without their permission, voluntold, they get voluntold. And a partner and a dream team of actual volunteers that always have my back, and occasionally some hired help, things can definitely get what some would call chaotic. However, I use chaos to shape my path, almost as if it were a hot laser or pressure cooker, just molding and shaping how I conquer my next big step. So, is it a myth that creative people thrive in chaos? I want to know. A show of hands. True or false? True? Creative people thrive in chaos? A lot of you say yes. That's good. Well, let's talk about it. So, we all know that developing structure will help us thrive in any facet of our life. But as creatives, we have to create that structure for ourselves, right? No one else can do it for us. I don't know how many times people have told me, oh, you have so much going on, but you just keep it all together and, you're just doing the things. But that's precisely what chaos is doing the things. And if you think back to how I described it earlier as this primordial void or this gaping hole of mass and energy, that's kind of what we're doing before we give birth to something giant, like a women's empowerment experience or a new client or a project that you're taking on without much experience. That is chaos, and that's truly what we can give birth to when we just take chaos and harness it for good and see the positive ways that it can impact our success and our productivity. I mean, many people in general are bad at time management and focus. It's not just a myth about creative people. How many of you have heard other myths about creative people? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, sometimes I feel like creative people are backed into a corner with those assumptions, and sometimes we actually start to believe them ourselves. We don't value our talent. We can't manage money. We definitely can't manage our time. We don't say what we mean, and we don't have our stuff together. Well, when really, this is what I know to be true about creatives. We work the hours that work for us, right? If you get to choose your workflow and maybe you're not working for somebody else, or if you are working for someone else and you have that gig on the side that you like to do, you probably try to do it at the hours in which you have the most creative excitement or expression coming through you. So for me, that's usually around 11 p.m. So I get up, like I said, around 9:30-ish, slow morning start to my morning, and then I work for a little while, and then maybe I'll get out and have a walk or go bird around our beautiful city, and then I have dinner, and then I go back to work. So that may sound really crazy for a lot of people, but it's how I work best. We observe everything. We seek out new experiences, and another thing I like about us creatives, we fail up. What does that mean? It means resiliency. Resilience is practically a prerequisite for creative success, right? Doing creative work is often described as a process of failing repeatedly until you find something that sticks. And creatives, at least the successful ones, learn not to take chaos or failure so personally. Instead of seeing my life as being super chaotic, actually see all of the positive things that surround what I created for myself. I'm resilient because I'm on a pursuit that is basically embedded in my DNA. And if you ask any other creative, I'm sure they'll say something similar. We all tend to be intrinsically motivated. But creatives do tend to procrastinate or resist work more. Why is that? I really like how Stephen Pressfield talks about resistance in The War of Art. He says, resistance obstructs movement only from a lower sphere to a higher. It kicks in when we seek to pursue a calling in the arts, launch an innovative enterprise, or evolve to a high station morally, ethically, or spiritually. Meaning, it's super important that you're aware of your resistance that may be creating chaos. So, speaking of being aware, I'd like to do an activity on awareness. Would you guys all like a worksheet? You guys like room for activities? Is that cool? So my friends, my volunteers are gonna pass out the things. This worksheet is completely anonymous. I want you guys to all answer it truthfully. If it doesn't apply to you, leave it completely blank. If it does apply to you, just put a little X by it. No one's going to know that you wrote it. No one's going to know that it was yours. Just be honest with yourself. So when you're done with it and you've looked at it, you've read it, go ahead and crumple up that piece of paper. You're going to crumple it up. And then if you're in the back, will you throw yours forward? And if you're on each side, you're going to throw them to the other side. Everybody throw them at each other. Now, if you can, while you're saying, pick one. So open them up, and I know you're all already reading them, but I'm going to reread these. And as I go, if one of the answers is a yes on yours, if it's checked off, go ahead and stand up for me as I read these off, okay? There are times when I didn't value my talent or worth. There are times when I could manage my time better. I sometimes wish I didn't say yes to so many things. I replayed moments in my mind and what I could have done differently. Social media has prevented me from getting work done. I'm sometimes unaware of my resistance to my work. I don't take time to take care of myself amidst chaos. So that's pretty much all of us. If you look around, the point of this exercise is for connection. To know that you're not isolated in your chaos or what you believe to be chaos. You may all be seated. How am I doing on time, by the way? Right after? 5 minutes. Cool. So, I don't know how all of you feel after doing that exercise or reading a stranger's notes on how they actually feel, but to me, that is what I often do to realize I'm not alone and I'm not isolated in the crazy thoughts in my brain every morning. So, if you're a creative, which you are because you're here, you need to know that it's not up to you to wallow in your own chaos. It's not up to you to do that. It's up to you to be aware of it, just like I said. You're supposed to be aware that things are crazy, you got a lot going on, you got a lot to do. But I want you to think of chaos as that gaping void right before the creation of something beautiful, right before the creation of everything, of the universe. So even if this chaos train that we're all on as creatives continues to toot its own horn and go down the tracks, we can know that it's not our job to be the victim in that stance. It's not our job to say, I have so much going on and I'm the only one with a ton of stuff going on. Like, you're not. As you witness, the entire room stood up with you and wishes they managed things differently and wishes they gave time to themselves to take care of themselves during that time. I love this quote by W.H. Murray. Because we've been talking about resistance, and we say yes to these big, giant, scary monster projects that we can't, keep us up at night. But we also can't seem to get things done during the day sometimes, and that's okay too. That's just the chaos. So know this: whatever you can do, or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, magic, and power in it. Begin it now. So the only thing that really creates chaos is our resistance to our work. The only thing that makes us feel chaotic is that we have so much to do that how will we ever tackle that giant to-do list? So if we're aware of our resistance, which I recommend all of you go pick out the War of Art book, it explains a lot about how we as humans all crave expressing ourselves. And expressing ourselves looks different for each and every one of us, and creativity is literally just self-expression. So if we get to do that and make a living at it, that's pretty cool. So we can't isolate ourselves as the victims in this chaotic life. We have to know that chaos is there for us. It's a positive tool that will shape and mold whatever we're doing to be its best, because I work awesome when the pressure is on, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. So I'm going to leave you with one more quote from Forbes contributor Stephen Coulter. He wrote this on a piece on Einstein's creative genius. He says, creatives fail, and the good ones fail really often. So if you feel like chaos and failure, if you associate those two things, you should know that that's okay. It's okay to associate chaos and failure, because that means you're actually doing the work. You're doing the thing that you love to do, and it feels crazy because you're usually solo dolo, but that's okay. That's okay to know that chaos is on your side. Thank you guys so much.